and all present. At the outset, I'd like to thank the organizers for this meeting. And without further ado, I would be starting off my presentation. So my topic for today is cooled radiofrequency ablation, my experience in knee, the lumbar facet joints and the sacroiliac joints. Right, so this is going to be the overview of my presentation. A bit of introduction. What is exactly cooled radiofrequency ablation? Cooled radiofrequency ablation and its applications in the knee joint, the lumbar facet joints, the sacroiliac joint, and followed by the conclusion. In the introduction, we know that the use of radiofrequency in pain management dates back to 1965, where it was first used for management of percutaneous lateral corotomy for unilateral pain in cancer patients. Flow of ambient water circulated through the electrode via a peristaltic pump to maintain lower tissue temperature by creating a heat sink but still allowing neurolysis to occur. By removing heat from tissues immediately adjacent to the electrode tip, a lower lesioning temperature is maintained, therefore resulting in less tissue charring. So let's have a look at a comparison between the conventional and the cooled radiofrequency ablation. Standard and cooled thermal RF both work through the same principle of ionic heating, which is produced by friction of charged molecules which create heat and therefore thermally ablate and deactivate the nerves responsible for sending pain signals to the brain. If you have a look at the standard RF, there are a few challenges. One is variabilities in the neural structures. As shown over here, this is an example of the knee genicular region where you can see a nerve variability. The lesions which are created by the standard RF are many of the time unable to capture all target nerves in one single attempt. With standard RF, ionic heating is greatest at the probe and tissue interface, around 80 degrees. Since lesioning occurs only within the area immediately adjacent to the probe's active tip, the lesion distally projects at a minimal distance beyond the tip, resulting in an elliptical shape or a candle flame lesion. Diameter of the lesion is approximately about 4 millimeters. Therefore, because of its shape, size, and lack of distal projection, standard RF lesions are too small to reach all the targeted nerves. This is a comparison between the standard RF and the cooled RF. We can see over here the volume is smaller, there is minimal distal projection and no angle independence. So this is the cooled RF probe. It's a water cooled probe. The moving fluid acts as a heat sink, removing heat away from where the tip and tissue interface lies. By delivering RF energy through water cooled electrodes, greater RF energy can safely be transmitted to the nervous tissue. So this is a lesion of the cooled RFA. We can see 5 times larger volume, 45% distal projection or greater. There is angle independence as well, and you can see the temperatures. This is the comparison between the two lesion sizes. It's about 4 millimeters in a conventional RF, whereas substantially larger, a spherical lesion in the cooled RFA, reaching to almost 12 millimeters. Now let's move ahead to the applications. So first I'll be talking about the knee joint. COOLIF. So the knee, as we all know, is innervated by articular branches known as the genicular nerves of several major nerves, including the femoral, tibial, common, peroneal, saphenous, and obturator nerves. The articular branches follow the genicular vessels. Let's have a look at the targets. Commonly, the targets are the superior medial genicular nerve, superior lateral genicular nerve, inferior medial genicular nerve. Suprapatellar genicular nerve is an optional fourth lesion. So let's have a look at the fluoroscopic technique first, wherein initially fluoroscopy was used a lot. These are the AP view targets in fluoroscopy, wherein we are seeing that we are targeting the junction of the shaft and the condyle, medial and laterally, and then infero-medial. This is the lateral view, wherein the needle has to be in the middle of the shaft of the femoral or the tibial shafts. This was me initially using the fluoroscopy. As we all know, in the field of pain medicine, it's the era of ultrasound now. So I use more of ultrasound for the knee radiofrequency ablations. So In the ultrasounds, what we do is we usually follow the arteries, the superior medial and the superior lateral and the inferior medial arteries, and we do the lesions. So here is a video under ultrasound. Sorry. Where you can see the pulsatile vessel over there, and the needle tip is just closed. Remember, with COOLIF, the lesion is distal projection from the tip, so we have to keep it closed, whereas in a conventional, we have to keep it parallel to the nerve. So let's have a look at the advantages with the ultrasound. Of course, there's no radiation. There is the ability of real-time guidance. Soft tissue visualization is possible, wherein effusions can also be seen, and then we always have the Doppler. So before going ahead with any kind of radiofrequency lesioning, be it any structure, the most important thing is a diagnostic block. Many of our time, before deciding on doing a radiofrequency ablation, a positive diagnostic block is what is of utmost importance. Usually, I use lignocaine, about 1%, depending on the structure, how much volume to be used, and only if the patient has more than 50% of pain relief is when we have to move ahead with a radio frequency ablation. Similarly, the concept of stimulation is also very important, wherein once we have reached the target site, sensory and motor stimulation needs to be done. Sensory stimulation is usually carried out at 50 Hertz, the voltage being between 0.3 to 0.7 volts, and we have to look for a positive sensory test. In case of the knees, we are going to look for paresthesias reproduced at the usual site of knee pain. In case of motor stimulation, it is done at 2 Hertz between 0.9 to 3 volts, and there must be an absence of major muscle groups contraction in the thigh and the upper leg region. Let's have a look at the complications. One most important complication is the pain during needle insertion. The needle is larger, it is thicker, so it is a bit difficult with the patient as well because of the pain. Bleeding is also common. Loss of sensation over the area supplied with the femoral nerve, infection, soft tissue injuries, and neuritis, allergic reactions, etc. So here's a look at a bit of literature. Here's a systematic review and meta-analysis of a few RCTs evaluating the efficacy of radiofrequency treatment for knee pain and function. Cool radiofrequency or RFA or on genicular nerves exhibited a more significant and long-lasting analgesic effect. Moving ahead to the sacroiliac joint, we all know that the sacroiliac joint is the largest axial joint in the body, found between the sacrum and the iliac bones on both the sides. The posterior sacroiliac joint is innervated by L5 to S3, posterior primary rami, and anterior joint by the L2 to S2 rami. It has dense innervations and very difficult to block individual nerves. So let's have a look at the innervation. The joint is predominantly innervated by posterior primary rami, L4, L5, and then S1, S2 lateral branches primarily innervate the sacroiliac joint and associated dorsal ligaments. There are contributions from the S3 as well. So moving ahead to the targets, the posterior primary rami of L5 is located at the junction of sacral ali and the SAP. Its lateral tip of C-arm is done till sulcus between SAP of S1 and sacral ali is seen. The target is going to be junction of the sacral ala and the superior articular process. Next, the C-arm is placed in AP, and the S1 to S3 foramina are visualized by a craniocaudal tilt. The COOLIF needles are going to be placed lateral to the foramina. If on the right side, 12 o'clock, 2, 4 and 6 o'clock position. If on the left, 6, 8, 10 and 12 o'clock position. This is me. I use the fluoroscopy for doing the radiofrequency ablation of the sacroiliac joint. So this is one needle placement close to the first sacral foramen. So these are going to be the lesions as you are seeing in the different meridians. One thing with the sacroiliac joint, we know that it's a densely innervated structure, and carpet bombing is what needs to be done. Ablate as much as possible. Moving ahead to the complications, loss of proprioception from sacroiliac joint leading to ataxia, bleeding, nerve injuries, infection, neuritis, soft tissue injuries, etc. can occur. Having a look at the literature, a meta-analysis for RF of the sacroiliac joint reveals that RFA is an effective treatment for sacroiliac joint pain at 3 months and 6 months follow-up. Last is the lumbar facet joint. We all know the facet joint is formed by articulation between inferior articular process of the above vertebra with superior articular process of the below vertebra. Each facet joint receives innervation from medial branch of dorsal rami of nerve at the same level and one level above. The medial branch of dorsal rami also gives motor supply to the multifidus muscle. The target is going to be the junction of the superior articular process and the transverse process at the eye of the Scotty dog. The L5, in case of the L5S1 joint, target the posterior primary rami of L5, which is in the groove at the junction of the superior articular process and the sacral area. So here we can see the Coolif needle. This is the lateral view. Having a look at the literature, wherein a comparison of efficacy between different RF techniques for treatment of lumbar facet and sacroiliac joint was done, a systematic review and meta-analysis. So the efficacy of cooled RF was most effective, thermal or conventional RF was second, and pulsed RF was least effective for follow-up visits at 6 months. The complications are going to be bleeding, nerve injury, infection, neuritis, soft tissue injuries, allergic reactions, etc. To conclude, I would say that cool radiofrequency ablation is a novel and promising technique for managing a myriad of chronic pain conditions. It has better accuracy. The lesion produced covers a larger area compared to conventional radiofrequency ablation, and as a technique as well, it is an easier technique to perform. However, more research and studies are warranted to establish cooled RF as one of the most preferred pain procedure. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.